It seems like every time I read the news, talk to other educators, or hop on Twitter, the story is always the same. Education is in a state of crisis. Students seem harder to reach than ever. They're struggling academically and emotionally. And teacher burnout is at an all-time high, with more of us reportedly planning to leave the profession than ever before. And it's not like the issues that dogged us before the entire education system was turned upside down in 2020 have gone away. The opportunity gap, discrepancies in student achievement, what feels like an uptick in misbehavior and student disengagement, just to name a few. On top of that, consider the dizzying speed with which our world is changing, a world for which we're supposed to be preparing our students. It's widely accepted that automation and machine learning are going to bring about some of the most dramatic changes to the workplace our society has seen since the Industrial Revolution, if not the entire history of mankind. We're living in a time when we legitimately don't know what the world is going to look like even 10 years from now, let alone the types of jobs that will exist that we're supposed to be preparing our students to be ready for. The only thing we can predict with some certainty is that success in the future is going to require people to have skills that aren't easily automated. Skills like how to solve problems by applying creativity and critical thinking using digital technology. Skills like how to collaborate and communicate online with colleagues all around the world, just to name a couple. Yet many of you might work in a school setting that feels stuck in the 1950s, an education system that was built for the world of my grandparents' generation, not for the world of today or tomorrow. And now, more than ever, trying to return to that old way of doing things simply isn't going to cut it. In fact, we're seeing the results of a failed attempt to return to status quo right now. I also understand that you probably already agree that education should move into the 21st century, but that it's really difficult to think creatively and to innovate when you're stuck feeling like you're in survival mode on a day-to-day basis. Although it can sometimes feel like we have very little agency within the broader system of education, in truth, if you have some control over how you plan and deliver lessons, you actually have an enormous capability to create transformational learning experiences that will in turn help transform education as a whole. After nearly a decade of teaching, coaching, reading, attending conferences, and running workshops, but most importantly, working with other educators like yourself and hearing about the collective challenges we all face, I'm more convinced than ever that a clear pathway to legitimate transformational education exists. That pathway is called Universal Design for Learning. This video is the first in a 6-part series to help you better understand why Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, is the key to educational transformation. And we'll also be giving you some concrete steps you can take to implement UDL in your own classroom. As with anything meaningful, transformation has to start at the individual level. And it's really important that you know for yourself why you're invested in this work. So to that end, I want you to stop for a moment to consider, what made you decide to get into teaching in the first place? I know it's a cliche, but it wasn't the money, right? How about all the respect that society bestows upon its educators? No, not that either. No, you almost certainly became a teacher because deep down you believe in the power of education to transform lives. Perhaps you saw inequality all around you and decided to jump in and actually do something about it. Maybe a teacher in your life helped put you on a different life trajectory. I know that's true for me. And maybe you wanted to be that person for as many young people as possible. And now, take a moment to consider how connected you currently feel to the original reason you decided to become a teacher. Does your day-to-day experience as a teacher line up with your core beliefs about education? I'm sure more than anything, you want your students to develop a passion for learning, to truly take ownership of their own learning. How distant is that aspiration from reality? Instead, do you often feel overwhelmed and discouraged? Do you even sometimes feel like you're at odds with your students? Like you have to cajole them into behaving, let alone learning? If, in spite of these frustrations, you hold firm to your core beliefs about education, the belief that education can level the playing field, the belief that all students deserve to learn and that all students can learn, the belief that a key part of our job is to reach as many students as possible, then Universal Design for Learning is going to resonate with you. That's because Universal Design for Learning helps us engage students in relevant, authentic, meaningful learning experiences and helps us ensure that those learning experiences are as accessible as possible for as many students as possible. These are the kinds of learning experiences that will help us address the challenges we face right now, while also helping us better prepare students for their futures. Imagine a classroom where students are so engaged they would choose to come to your class even if they didn't have to. A classroom where every student knows that their contributions are valued, that their voices are heard, and that they're able to get the support that they need. And imagine a classroom that you're genuinely excited to come to every single day. A classroom that leaves you feeling rejuvenated rather than drained. This classroom is possible with universal design for learning. In the next video in this series, we'll dig into specific strategies you can use to implement UDL, putting you on the path toward engaging students today while also building the classroom of tomorrow. I'm also very excited to announce that after nearly a year of behind the scenes work, we're finally ready to take on a cohort of teachers for our brand new, fully experiential teacher training program, 21st Century Teacher. 21st Century Teacher is hands-on, community-based professional development to help you learn how to implement universal design for learning using technology. I can honestly say it's going to be a professional development experience unlike anything else, and you can find out more information and get your name on the early bird waitlist by going to newedtechclassroom.com/21st Century Teacher. In the meantime, be sure to check out the next video in this series, and depending on when you're watching this, it may already be available to click on right there. If it's not there yet, it will be soon, so be sure to come back and check it out, and we'll see you over there.